Why, hello there, everybody. It's Wes, Hank, and Andy back once again for your 10th, oh my God, 10th installment of The Road to Ahsoka. What a long road it has been.
Long and interesting road.
It's been a very interesting
power
for someone who hadn't watched Rebels already.
And suddenly you're now watching these like disjointed episodes. We're like, wait, what? What about what happened? What was the lead up to this?
Yeah.
I felt that way reviewing the episodes for this week, so much that I actually kept just watching. It was so near the end of the series.
Yeah,
I watched the next episode.
Yeah, I watched the next two as well.
Yes,
it makes so much sense.
Isn't it crazy?
The epilogue of the last episode.
Yeah,
as far as it relates to the trailer, and
it really does.
Theory, Hank.
Yeah.
And then that's, like Dave Filoni said, don't assume anything is linear.
No,
that's the coolest part about what he said there. I was just like, wow, we don't know when that occurs,
So, no.
Well, we get a basic idea of when it occurs.
We have a rough idea.
Yeah.
We know after
Endor.
Right. At least after Endor.
After Endor, yeah.
We're 9 years after Endor.
We're way after Endor by the time when
Ahsoka starts, but
the third, the events surrounding the third season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
We're somewhere 11 B or ABY.
Yeah.
Somewhere,
like
yeah.
Between 9 and 11.
There's a line in one of tonight's episodes that I think at the time didn't matter, but after watching the finale and knowing what's coming next for Ahsoka, it changes the context completely.
And then when you say that, you got to wonder too, when you know that in the episode we're about to watch, there's Grogu using the Force with two other in the background on the wall.
Yep.
And did they really not know what they were doing?
Did they have that planned out that far back?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know about you guys, but when I do, like, say, RPG, when I game master, I world build crazy, like redundant things that'll never be needed.
I feel like maybe there's something to the idea that ideas that have shown up in our live action Star Wars maybe started back in Rebels and the Clone Wars, when the idea was, we don't know how many seasons we're going to get. So you plant those seeds, whether they come to fruition or not.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of television. Like, not everything pays off, or you get, in the case of, say, like Futurama just got a series revival, or a feature film spin-off, or some other project. Like,
that's what I say. I always say novels
and comics.
I always say that Lost taught TV a lot, the format a lot.
For all the flack that J.J. Abrams gets,
right? I think, but I mean, realistically, that he was an executive producer who wrote the first episode, but it was all Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse that did everything else. But, just the fact that they didn't treat the audience like they were morons for one of the first times ever. It was really smart sort of stuff, made you really scratch your head, and the fact that they, that people would sit through 6 seasons of episodic stuff and keep coming back for more. And I think that really changed the way that we do. You can't even call it TV anymore, but short, serialized storytelling. Serialized storytelling.
Well, certainly, if nothing else, Rebels definitely sort of did away with the idea of a standalone. Like even early Clone Wars, right? You had a bunch of episodes that were just sort of, Adventure of the Week.
Yeah,
that's right.
And although there was Adventure of the Week elements in Rebels, the overarching narrative was much more.
Yeah, there's
woven through.
Huge common thread.
Yeah.
And that you don't need the main 3 in the universe to make a series work.
The main 3,
Han, Luke, and Leia.
The legacy characters. Yeah. Not that Rebels didn't have its fair share of legacy characters show up.
It did, but they didn't feel out of place.
I like the fact that they, spoiler if you haven't seen it, Lando gets an appearance, which is great.
Haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, okay. Well, Lando's going to show up.
All right.
Leia turns up for a little while. Wedge Antilles shows up. Like, nice way to remind us of where we are roughly around what time. Yeah, Hobby Clivian. Yeah, they're all around.
It's wicked.
So yeah, it's totally good.
Is it time to let?
I was going to ask. Is it time to open the cage here? All right, let's do it. One more round of
Mad Star Wars jokes.
All right. And Andy, the bad Star Wars joke, I think, is all yours this week.
I got one for you.
That's it.
Luke and Obi-Wan walk into a Chinese restaurant.
Ooh.
10 minutes into the meal, Luke's still having trouble with the chopsticks, dropping food everywhere. Obi-Wan finally snaps and says, "Use the forks, Luke."
Use the forks, Luke.
That's a bad one.
As bad as it is, I still liked it. You don't want to do a follow-up, do you?
I don't have
just one this week. Okay,
just one.
Well, that's it. Oh, you got one?
I don't know if it's a joke so much as on one hand, Luke Skywalker is a Jedi Knight.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, well, there isn't one.
And on the other hand, wait,
there. I made that up on the spot.
Oh,
nicely
that's
done,
good.
Sir.
Well done. Well done. This has been another installment of Bad Star Wars Jokes. Where are we going tonight, everybody? It's our last week of animation.
It is.
Before we get into live action stuff. Well, I shouldn't say last. That's not necessarily true.
No,
we still have the extra special episode
cooking.
The Hank's Essentials list.
Sorry, I don't want to call it the leftovers or the should have beens. What are we calling that?
I don't know.
I call it Hank's Essentials.
The might have been, should have been, could have been. Yes,
cool. I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. It's certainly Clone Wars heavy, but I just think that they omitted so many things, and who picks the list? I guess at the end of the day, is it just some sort of intern doing their job, or is it somebody who's like, no, I understand the character, and I'm the guy they hired to make this list of 10 episodes. So you really don't picture that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't Pablo Hidalgo.
No.
Well, like this first episode we're going to talk about here.
Sure.
As far as character growth for Ahsoka, there is none. She only appears in it for like half a second.
Yeah, but I was just thinking that about.
Does it like really influence what we're going to see come the live action show? Like you can't understand that without this, maybe, or
I mean, I have to wonder if and maybe I'm answering my own sort of thought process here, but like, was this playlist not established specifically for the purpose of what we are doing?
Yeah, to
getting ready for
it.
Yeah, it's to bring people up to speed. And it's funny outside outside the fourth wall where Dave Filoni says, you don't really have to watch anything else.
That's not what Ashley Eckstein is saying.
Right, right. But he recanted, like in the same sentence, he said, you don't have to watch any of it to enjoy it. It would help if you watched a couple of Clone Wars episodes and maybe 3 or 4, or maybe you should probably watch just maybe the last season of Rebels. Maybe actually just watch all of Rebels. And then maybe you should probably watch everything. It fell apart in the interview. It was kind of funny, actually. And then Ashley Eckstein is all about
watch as much as you can.
As much as you can.
Yeah. Get it all in if you have the time to consume it all.
Yeah.
Because I know in terms of Rebels and having those characters appear in live action, we're both, all of us are going to be.
I know.
They've already been they've dangled that character. We're all ready, right? Like with Zeb and
setting us up like early, like to have Zeb come back in The Mandalorian is just like, what? Oh, yeah. So,
alrighty.
All right, we're digging in now.
Let's dig in. Tonight we start off with Star Wars Rebels Season 4, Episode 12, Wolves and a Door. This one is directed by Dave Filoni and Bosco Nin. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but written by Dave Filoni. This one originally aired February 26, 2018. And the synopsis reads that Ezra takes the Ghost Crew back to the Jedi Temple on Lothal, where they find out that the Empire has a dastardly plan for the powerful secrets that it holds. Evil Empire.
They were evil.
Yeah. We open on a shot on the fields of Lothal as a Lothcat sneaks through the grass before climbing up on a white Lothwolf.
Lothwolf, yeah.
And he's currently watching the Ghost Crew as they examine a tablet from the Jedi Temple. Hera notes that the temple is far to the north, and when Zeb asks how Ezra got it, he tells them that the Lothwolves gave it to him, and they think the Empire is up to something terrible. And Zeb questions that the wolves told him this? And he replies, well, just one.
And so let's just talk about the tablet for a second, because this is we've talked about this recently. Elements of maybe not this tablet, but of similar archaeological significant finds turned up in Luthen's shop.
True.
Yes.
Is that what we're looking at right now?
Maybe another keystone, perhaps.
I kind of wonder if what ended up in Luthen's shop is what they didn't get away with. But then again, the timeline, so close.
It is
so close. We're almost overlapping.
Well, like if they're shipping anything back from the site to Coruscant, it's completely possible he could have hijacked it en route.
Yeah.
Or had a crew of people hijack it for him.
Given the importance of what the Empire is doing here, why that is sitting in the open in his gallery.
Yeah.
It's what? What?
Well, and that's why I sort of speculated at the time, maybe some of the stuff is like a knockoff, or that he's even in his guise of not being a rebel, he's an illegal art dealer, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, he does have the 2 holocrons in the back room, right?
He does. Now, I've often wondered about this because they look great.
And they are a bit larger.
They are significantly larger than any. I mean, I think of a holocron, and to me, Rubik's Cube, right?
Yeah.
Not the one in Luthen's shop.
It would be nothing for there to be a market for
knockoff artifacts.
And not even knockoff artifacts, but like, how you go to any sort of shop in Chinatown and you can find ceramic Buddhas of all, you know what I mean? And
they're
not knockoffs. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so it might be something as a high-end version of that, where these, but then again, some of the other things that are they're like singularly unique, like Plo Koon's mask.
Yeah, like I know that all Keldor live in a unbreathable atmosphere, and they all need a mask. But does every Keldor wear a mask that looks exactly like that?
Yeah.
For a guy who got blown up in a fiery starship, explosion.
And there is always the chance too, since we know that Tony Gilroy, we're going off the rails here, but we know that Tony Gilroy wasn't interested in that sort of thing, and that was all done by the art department.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that stuff is just flash and none of it means anything.
That's entirely possible. Yeah.
Like here's look what I found in a box, Padme's headdress. We'll put this on a stand here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Along with the Shankara stones, because
right.
Indiana Jones connection. Yeah.
But back here, Sabine notes that it's too bad they didn't tell him what the symbols mean, and getting a better look at the temple might help. And they have no ship, and I'm not sure why, because I didn't see the previous episode yet. But Ezra says he can get them there, and using the Force, he reaches out, summoning a group of Loth wolves, and the large white one walks right up to Ezra, and he tells the wolf they're ready, and asks if they can take them.
Is there value in pointing out that this wolf is the one that communicated with him previously?
I believe so.
Previously, yeah. Is it worth pointing out that the wolf is essentially Doom?
Is it? Because I thought the one that communicated with him was a much larger version of the Loth wolf.
Well, that perspective looking down at him makes it look pretty big.
Yeah, but he's no bigger than the rest of his.
Do we think this is a different one then?
I think this is like a
lesser aspect.
Yeah,
I think they're the same.
Okay,
I could be wrong. I still think that the Force works in mysterious ways.
It does,
and I think this is one of them.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Maybe this episode is directed by Ang Lee. He's just indiscriminately sized.
He just gets angrier and bigger and smaller and.
That's right.
It's not how the Hulk works.
Well, as we're about to see, the size matters not when it comes to Loth wolves.
No. But the lead wolf agrees and lays down on the ground so Ezra can mount up, and the rest of the crew follows and gets mounted up as well. And they take off towards the temple. Zeb questions how far until the temple, but Sabine tells him he doesn't want to know. And Ezra, he whispers something in the lead wolf's ear and tells the crew to hold on tight. And shortly, the wolves begin to lower and lower until they disappear right into the ground, leaving only a breeze behind them.
If you were a kid watching this, you would wonder if the grass got really tall or they ran into some low ground, but like it's exactly the way you describe it. They literally into like they just
yeah, like it's becoming liquid. And so if for everybody else that hasn't seen it before, and you might not have seen the episode before, this is the second time that Ezra travels like this with the wolves. The wolf actually renders Sabine unconscious, so she can't be cognizant of traveling like this. But it's not this in depth. You just see them start to ride, and then they arrive at their destination. And I can tell you, since it's not a spoiler, that time they went to the other they went to the other hemisphere of the planet.
Yeah, a long ways away.
Yeah.
Just run straight through.
I find it interesting that they use the visual cue of hyperspace.
It's really similar.
You know what I mean? Like that, the coalescing blue and white like tunnel.
Yeah,
but it's more cloudy. It's not as streamlined as Lightspeed.
I guess it's very similar though.
It is very similar, yes.
Yeah.
But we get our Rebels title card and then a shot of this really similar to hyperspace, but as they're going through, echoes of the past ring out. Moments later, what is it here? Moments from the past fly by. Kanan, Hera, Ezra, and Ahsoka, who says, "This is a new day, a new beginning," and it ends on Ezra covering with Kanan that they are the last two Jedi.
The line "new beginning" that's from the very first episode of Rebels that we covered. When Ahsoka climbed down the ladder. And said that very word. To him.
So all these are previous conversations and moments and whatnot. And the tunnel bleeds out into pure white light, and we find Hera clinging to her Lothwolf. She looks around as her vision returns and sees Ezra standing with the lead wolf, and the crew dismounts. And Sabine asks Zeb if he heard the voices.
Did you hear that?
But he's not sure what he heard. Ezra tells Hera that they're now only a short distance to the temple, but this is as far as the Lothwolves can take them. Hera then asks Ezra how the wolves are able to travel like that, and he responds that Kanan told him the wolves are deeply connected to the Force. And Zeb remarks that, well, he's glad they're on the same side, but Ezra notes they're on Lothal's side, which they all hope is the same side.
Yeah. But it's an interesting choice of words that the wolves are on the side of the planet.
Yeah.
Right.
So does that make, is Lothal the counterpoint? I keep going back to the cave, and I've used the Dagobah analogy. If the cave is this like huge nexus of the dark side, is Lothal a nexus of the light side?
It sure is.
Short answer.
Yeah, it sure is. Like, and we see it a lot, like Dathomir, and they just canonized Thule from the old Republic game in one of the comics, and so that's another place, and more Exegol. We could just start naming them: Tatooine before the flood, Jeddah, Octu. So. Yes, I probably could go on. And then the neat thing too about Rebels is that you start to get these like beings specific to the planet, Loth wolves, Loth cats, that exhibit some sort of connection. And then for the first time in all of the lore, you get is he non-human biological? He's a human biological, connected to the planet the same way we see creatures connected to planets, connected to the Force in a totally different way. Like I said last episode, like Ezra Bridger is the guardian of Lothal.
Yeah.
But with their travel done, the wolves then depart. And the rebels, they get moving. Before long, they arrive at the temple, where the Empire has set up shop, but it doesn't appear to be a military operation. Upon scanning the area, Ezra sees that both the temple doors are missing, as if they've been cut right out of the rock. And Sabine notes that they've recovered a lot of artwork, and it might be helpful to see it up close. Hera agrees and thinks Sabine and Ezra should venture down while the rest wait and watch. Zeb takes note of two troopers on speeder bikes and notes that they're going to need a disguise.
When they approach the temple here, and you remember that this is the same temple that we went to before, and you see the size of the excavation. Because remember, that temple corkscrewed up out of the ground.
Yeah.
Well, clearly they weren't able to
down.
They weren't able to raise it, so now we've got to get down to where we think the doors are. That's a huge, huge excavation. That's like
industrial style.
Yeah, that's on par with like a strip mine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fully.
Yeah, so they obviously not worried about spending resources on finding whatever it is.
These are Palpatine's pet projects.
Yeah.
Go seek me some stuff. But the two troopers are stopped at the sight of a hologram of Grand Admiral Thrawn, which gives Zeb just enough time to render both of them unconscious. And with their disguises in place, Ezra and Sabine make their way into the encampment. Sabine notes that there's a language in the artifacts, not in words, but in pictures. But before she can look anymore, Minister Hayden calls out for them to get away from the artifact. Any scuff could potentially damage whatever information it may contain relating to the gateway. And Ezra questions Gateway, but he quickly recovers with an apology and a salute. Sorry, sir. But the minister is called away for a transmission from Coruscant, and he tells the commander of the troops that the actions of these troopers reflect poorly on him.
Does this guy not give you, and this is just me, Hayden, does he not give you vibes of those guys in the Empire, or sorry, in Return of the Jedi, like not the Vizier, but his cronies.
His cronies, I can't remember what
they were called.
I think he might even be modeled off of one of them.
So
close. And there's versions of them in Rise of Skywalker on Exegol.
Well, I was gonna say they almost look like some of the Sith Eternal, like the cultists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but at the same time, he kind of like carries himself like he's not fully dark side. He's more into it for the knowledge.
Oh, for sure, he's a history dude.
Yeah.
But voiced by Malcolm McDowell.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Now that you say that,
Now
that you say that, yes. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. But the minister, he takes off to go take the call, and the commander, he demands the clearance codes and ID numbers from both of them. But Ezra lifts his mask, and with the Jedi mind trick, he convinces the commander that he doesn't need their clearance, and he will forget what just happened. And with this, Ezra and Sabine slip away.
Interesting that's a Death Trooper, by the way.
Yeah, there's a few of them running around here.
We've speculated a little bit about Death Troopers and what we think they might be. Interesting to know that Death Troopers are just as susceptible to
at least
the Force.
These versions.
Well,
because I don't think it would work on Moff Gideon's upgrades.
Well, this is a Death Trooper. Hard to say. It's honestly hard to say. Do we think that Gideon's Death Troopers were clones?
I think they were 100% robot.
His Dark Troopers.
Yes.
They were, but these are Death Troopers, the guys that appeared in Rogue One.
Yes.
The slimmer, taller guys that we were kind of wondering maybe are genetically based off of Crosshair.
They've been
it'd be interesting to lift that helmet up.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to know that they're still susceptible to the Jedi mind trick,
which actually works this time.
Yes,
the previous episode we covered where he was not as strong with the Force, and it just kind of rubbed off the guy.
Credits will do. No, they won't.
But outside the main bunker, Sabine radios Chopper to relay the incoming Imperial transmission, and what they hear shocks them. It's a direct call from the Emperor himself. The minister continues telling Palpatine that they've gotten to the root of the temple and discovered images and iconography similar to that he had previously discovered in the Jedi archive. And Palpatine mentions the Mortis gods, and the minister agrees and cites that they may be the key to unlocking the temple. The Emperor shifts gears, noting that a great disturbance is felt in the Force, and that the death of Kanan Jarrus has changed the fate of Lothal, but the Emperor can't see how just yet.
Funny for a guy who's fond of saying, I have foreseen it.
Yeah. Not usually admitting, I don't know what.
Yeah, when it's occurring in other realms, it's getting blurrier.
Yeah. Gonna have some questions surrounding that whole otherworldly aspect and the influence that Force users can have on it. Because that made me go, what?
But the minister suggests that perhaps gaining access to the temple may provide clarity, and the Emperor tells him that they must seize the power within. a conduit between the living and the dead, and Minister Haydn is to proceed. Sabine radios Hera, who thinks because the Emperor is involved is too dangerous and they should pull back. But Ezra and Sabine disagree, noting that they can't let the Emperor gain access. And Hera, she pauses on this, and Zeb gently tells her to remember why they came. And as she reflects, Kanan's Force Ghost is right there at her side, laying his hand on her shoulder.
Is it a Force Ghost, or is it the memory of?
I think it's the Force Ghost.
Little A, little B?
Because he's got, like, when he materializes, he's got that, like, little blue haze to him.
Luminous beings, are we?
Exactly. Yeah.
God, that's 2 quotes tonight in less than 2 minutes.
Nice. I wonder how he would have learned that ability.
Well, that's the only reason that I ask. Like, do we think it's his Force Ghost or a memory? She does say.
I actually think there's something else going on with Kanan specifically.
I feel like it's a bit of A, a little bit of B. Her memory is part of it, and yes, he's there is part of it, but he's not manifested.
No, but I think she feels him.
I agree with that.
Yes.
The physical appearance is for our benefit as the audience, so we know that he's with her.
But
and she feels that.
He is manifest in this episode.
Doom.
He is the large wolf.
Doom.
But Zeb tells Hera they'll be fine, and Hera applies that, or what was it here? I skipped one. Sorry. Hera concedes, but she notes that she wants them both out of there should she give the order, to which they agree. And Zeb tells Hera they'll be fine, but Hera replies that she used to always believe that. Suddenly, an announcement of safety hazard zone comes over the loudspeakers, and the minister instructs them that they are to close to their goal, and everyone will be working double shifts overnight. He then calls for the floodlights to be turned on. With the lights turned on, a grand painting depicting 3 figures, the 3 Mortis gods, is illuminated on the rock wall. Everyone is in awe of this ancient painting, but soon a Trandoshan worker informs the minister that they found more symbols, prompting him to go check out another part of the area, giving Ezra and Sabine a chance to look closer at the painting. As they study the painting, Sabine asks Ezra if he notices anything about it, and he points out the bird on the woman's shoulder. He notes that the bird is like the one that was always around whenever Ahsoka visited them on Adelon. And looking further, he spots a pack of 3 Luth wolves in the painting, and at the side of the wolves, Sabine brings up a hologram of the tablet that the wolves brought them. She notices the 3 hand positions match those in the painting, and she surmises that the painting is the key, like a star map that leads to different planets or doorways. And Ezra wonders if it is indeed the way into the temple, and Sabine tells him that they're about to find out. Noting the hand position, Sabine figures they are currently aligned one way, but they need to be shifted to another. So she tells Ezra to do his thing.
Do your thing. What's my thing? I don't know. What's your thing?
Yeah, and he tells her that to open the temple
hand thing, baby.
Yeah, you need a master and an apprentice. And she insists he tries, so he walks up and lays his hand on the painting, and she tells Ezra to hurry. But he replies, "You can't rush this.
You can't rush these things."
Yeah.
The Empire would say otherwise.
Yeah. Just then, 2 troopers begin to approach, and Sabine yells at Ezra to get down. He ducks out of the way just in time, but the troopers begin to question Sabine, and they continue that her and her partner failed to complete their perimeter sweep. And as this is going on, Ezra remembers what Kanan told him. Listen to the story. And throwing caution to the wind, he stands up and lays his hand on the painting again, while the 2 troopers have their backs to it, dealing with Sabine. She suggests that they head over to operations to clear things up, and the 3 exit the area. Ezra leans in and listens to the stone, and the ring around the woman's hand begins to glow. We hear echoes and whispers, and the other lines glow as well, and the painting begins to shift, aligning new lines. The new alignment glows brightly for a moment before elements of the painting begin to move on their own. The top figure moves his arm, and closing his hand into a pointing motion, he now points in a new direction. Near the bottom of the painting, the Loth wolves come to life as the whispers continue. The wolves begin to howl and suddenly begin walking away from the painting, and Ezra follows. Up on top of the ridge, Hera sees Sabine moving away from the painting with the troopers, and she also notes that she thinks the painting is moved. Zeb demands the binoculars because clearly she's been staring through them too long. Meanwhile, a short distance from the painting, the wolves have begun running in a circular pattern, marking out a space on the rock, and Ezra is positive he's found the entrance to the temple. But across the area, Sabine is brought before the minister.
I was just going to say, can we go back one?
Yeah.
Let's go back one and let's talk about the painting of the Mortis gods a little bit more as it pertains to what we saw in the trailer, because we saw that figure in the trailer, and Hank, you surmised that there was a ring in the cut stone that looked like it could potentially move like a puzzle. That's something that we see here.
Yeah. Concentric circle.
And we see that iconography in all the Fallen Order games, the Jedi Survivor, Fallen Order, and we see it a lot in the High Republic comics, and even in the back of other Jedi temples that we've been in. So yeah, it's a visual language, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that not only does the hand of the father move, but you do get the rings. You see sort of what I presume are sort of, to tie it in with what we saw in the trailer, we saw that what I consider to be a navigational
star map
device.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do the lines on this not look like they're pointing at like planetary bodies?
Yeah,
that's kind of what I got as well.
If it will be,
and sort of the ring, the middle ring, kind of move to line up the routes between those worlds, I guess, to complete the route.
Yeah.
And then we get, of course, what's about to happen.
Right. And I would venture in lieu of what's about to happen, instead of a map to worlds.
Yep.
This is a map beyond worlds.
Yeah.
Kind of like a shifting labyrinth, if you will.
Yeah. There's a great description too of well, that's later. I won't get ahead of myself.
Fair enough.
Sorry, but thank you. I just wanted to have a look at the painting of the father, the brother,
and the daughter.
Yeah.
The father, the
Ahsoka.
daughter, and the son.
The brother.
I think the brother is the Grand Inquisitor.
Well, and I find that interesting that it's the brother. He's referred to as the brother, and all the male Inquisitors are brothers.
Yeah.
Weird.
True. But back to here, the troopers tell the minister that they're bringing this trooper in for processing because of a discrepancy, but the minister raises Sabine's helmet and she's exposed. He calls to restrain her and raise the alarm because there's an imposter on site. And suddenly spotlights begin sweeping the area, causing Heb, Zara, and Chopper to retreat. As troopers continue to scramble about, Ezra lays his hand on the rock, and momentarily it disappears inside, and he recoils with a little bit of a spark.
It's like the the ripple
of the mirror in the Matrix.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Did anybody else find the line art of the wolves like running in circles to be kind of trippy?
A little bit. It's like one of those. The old where you would have like a circular.
Zoetrope. Is that what that's called? The zoetrope?
Maybe.
Oh, rotoscope.
Yes.
No, rotoscope is drawing over top of.
That's right. Is it a zoetrope?
It's one of those tropes.
Yeah, one of those things where it's like running.
It's like the kids' flip book.
Yeah. I always thought that if you could get a nice still of that, it would be a great back tattoo.
I think the TV that I have made it a little bit more like it was like hard to watch, like almost like if you were light sensitive, you might have trouble with this sequence.
It's golden glowy.
Yeah.
But Ezra only has a moment to reflect as the spotlight shines his way, and he's quickly surrounded by stormtroopers, and the minister follows in, remarking, "The gateway!" Sabine cries out for Ezra to go, and he bolts towards the portal. Minister Hayden calls to stop him, but it's too late. Ezra leaps at the rock, disappearing into it, leaving only a spark of energy.
Yeah, and once again, leaving a bunch of people standing there going, "What just happened?"
He just dove into a rock. But I love this next part because the two stormtroopers that are closest kind of like look at each other and shrug, and then they rush it, and they rush to it and slam right into the rock, falling back unconscious.
Having been in the military and I've heard similar jokes. Hey, you bend over at the waist and run as fast as you can into that wall. Like that's about the intelligence level we're seeing here.
Road runner stuff.
Seriously.
but a look of shock falls on Sabine's face, and the minister stands in awe in front of the now closed portal. And we get a close-up of Ezra's discarded trooper helmet, and we cut to the Rebels logo, ending this episode.
Oh,
craziness!
So, like a half second of Ahsoka.
Seriously, yeah.
And just the one line too, right?
And it's literally just
the new beginning one,
the memory of
of
that. But
so what's important there is where they're traveling. There is like another. That's one of the lines. Let's call them ley lines, if you will, because that's a good
analogy.
Yeah. So when they're traveling through that warp tunnel, that's them accessing the world between worlds. That's you know what I mean. That's why you see that's why the wolves create the door into it. And I think as we get deeper into Star Wars with this, I think you'll find that hyperspace in space is that too, and that the Purgles access it like the wolves access it.
I kind of thought that was sort of that there was a correlation there as well with the wildlife.
Almost certainly. They talk about the Nihil, even in if you've played Survivor and beat it now, the Nihil have a totally different way to access hyperspace than is traditional.
That's right, yeah.
You know, and then there's the a whole different set of hyperspace lanes when you get into the High Republic. Like they're just reopening things and shutting things down and reorganizing the galaxy. And yeah, it's cool.
But definitely sets up major stuff as we go forward into the next one. I don't think as we get to the next one, I don't think you could look at the next episode without having looked at this one to get that set up.
But when they originally aired, both of them aired the same day. So,
yeah, you'd want them both together for sure.
Yeah. But like you say, Hank, this actually mirrors a little bit of like real world animal behavior, because multiple times people have spotted like cows and whatnot following magnetic north and everything.
Oh, sure.
And they're keen to knowing what the lay of the land is. And
you know,
if you've seen Skinwalker Ranch,
I have not
there.
I have not yet.
Freak out whenever danger is coming.
Yeah, but that's
again, like no human detects it, but the animals are ready to.
Birds that travel thousands of kilometers on these migratory routes with no means of no external means of navigation, just on instinct or whatever. What instinct? Man's way of saying we don't understand it. We don't know how to. We don't have another word to describe this. We just call it instinct.
If you see a flock of like 50, 100 birds suddenly just do everything together at once in unison, just them adapting to the magnetic field fluctuations.
Yeah,
there's more things in heaven and earth.
But that brings us to our next episode.
Well, let's keep the train rolling here because this is where I think
where it gets weird.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. I have some questions.
So, season 4, episode 13, A World Between Worlds, directed by Dave Filoni and Stuart Lee. Again, written by Dave Filoni. Originally aired February 26, 2018. And the synopsis reads, while the other rebels engage the Imperial forces outside the Jedi Temple, Ezra gains access inside and experiences a revelation.
I just want to say this before we get into this. Like, we've all seen it, so we know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Why would you drop this episode and then 2 more episodes and the show is over? Do you know what I mean? Like, you have such a huge beat in this episode only to boop, done. Like,
yeah, I think it's well, one of the things is I think that the epilogue was an afterthought, because I think they actually did want to move on from the show without the creators necessarily wanting to move on or being ready to move on. And the other thing is that they don't drop it, but it's not it's not well explained at all. But that's literally what happens at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Rey saying, be with me, be with me, be with me, is her accessing the world between worlds. The sky even drops out, the background drops out, she's in a star field area. That's why it's introduced here, because they have a habit of trying to canonize something so people don't go, what? But it didn't play. It didn't play as well. We heard all the voices. That's exactly what happened there. But it could at least have a few of the rings and the symbology.
Give us some of the visual stuff to connect it that way.
Unless you read the script, it's not clear at all. But that's
I get it. I get it totally.
That's what happened there, and that's sort of why we're left dangling here. But we're going back, fellas. In 25 days, we're going back. I guarantee.
Rebels season 5. What else do you call it?
Yeah, we call it Ahsoka.
We could. We could.
But here we open on a dark void, and echoes of the past ring out. Yoda, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn, Ahsoka, Kanan Jarrus. And as we pull back, we see the running wolves, and Ezra pops through the gateway. And behind him, we see the silhouettes of the 2 troopers who are about to smash their heads into the wall. And as he stands up, the wolves behind him stop running. And Ezra looks around, and we hear more from Yoda and Obi-Wan. And there are great pathways before Ezra running through a seemingly endless space. And other portals lie at the end of these pathways.
How much thought went into the dialogue, the line choices that play in this sequence?
I think they were specifically chosen. Like the opening line from Yoda is, what is it? Fascinating is the mind of a child.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The line from Obi-Wan.
It's fantastic stuff. And you really quickly, you go for 41 years, because 2018, right?
Yep.
1977. For 41 years, everything I thought about the Force was completely left of center, just wrong. Fantastic.
But you really do get a sense of that stuff that we had sort of talked about before leading up to this, that like here in this place, you are able to access all points in time in different places.
Yeah, that's why I think if you need a sort of an analogy, I guess we'll go to other sci-fi property, but think of the anomaly, the nexus in Star Trek where Guinan is from, or rather where Guinan is trapped.
Yeah.
So when Ezra's here, he's always been here now. And he'll always be here.
In some level, yeah. You'd have to be.
Yeah. But at the same time, the way Qui-Gon Jinn described it, it surrounds us. It connects everything. If you were to, flip reality inside out, this would be the connecting tissue you see on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connecting all points in time. But Ezra, he looks around stunned at what lays before him, and we cut to the Rebels logo. But we get back to Lothal, and Sabine is brought before the minister again. Her identity now revealed, and he relays that the Grand Admiral is a fan and has acquired quite a small collection of her artwork. And Sabine sarcastically says that she's flattered. And the minister says he'd never consider himself an artist, more of a critic, but he is impressed with how Sabine and Ezra managed to figure out what they've been trying to unlock so quickly. And he asks her how she did it, and she simply replies, "I'm smarter than you."
I like how brash that is. So brash. It's like you are like one step away from death here, young lady.
Yeah. Guns are trained on.
I'm smarter than you.
Yeah.
It's almost as she's saying, what are you going to do?
Yeah. But she continues
yeah.
She continues that the minister has no real power either. And he agrees. His is but a reflection of the Emperor's true power. But Sabine counters that even for all his power, he couldn't open the door when Ezra could. But the minister tells her that Ezra isn't safe. The door is open, and the Emperor will find him. But Minister Hayden offers her a chance to help Ezra by helping him. He then brings up a multitude of holograms depicting different art pieces that he needs help interpreting. And the minister assumes Sabine would relish in the opportunity to study the temple. And very quickly, Sabine picks up that the portal isn't just the entrance to the temple, and Minister Hayden confirms it's a gateway to all of time and space.
All of time.
And whoever controls it controls the universe.
Well, no wonder Palps wants
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside, Hera, Chopper, and Zeb scan the area, noting that Sabine was taken to a building in the far side, and Zeb asks if she knows if Ezra made it into the temple or not, but she replies she doesn't know where he is, and quite possibly he doesn't know where he is either. But inside the void, Ezra walks one of the long pathways, calling out to Yoda and Obi-Wan, but he gets no response. Among the whispers and echoes, Ezra hears the hooting of an owl, and walking forward, he spies a convor sitting on an over top of a doorway. Recognizing the bird, Ezra asks how he got there, but the convor nods to the portal below, and suddenly the portal glows red. Ezra asks what the bird is trying to show him, and an image begins to materialize, and Ezra is shocked by what appears before him. What appears in the portal are the moments after Ahsoka forced Ezra out of the Sith temple on Malachor, and Ahsoka blocks Vader as he continues to advance. The convor chirps at Ezra, and he asks what he can do, and the temple is reaching critical mass as bolts of energy arc upwards, and the ground shakes. Ahsoka force pushes Vader back, buying her an opportunity to drive her sabers into the ground, causing it to crack towards Vader, who is recovered and is about to strike. Watching in horror at this, Ezra cries out to Ahsoka and reaches through the portal and grabs her by the shoulder. As Vader swings, Ezra pulls her back right through the portal, narrowly avoiding the death blow. Yeah.
Bloop.
But before Vader can react to what just happened, the floor gives way underneath him and he falls into the temple's lower levels. And with Ahsoka now in the world between worlds, the portal closes.
And one more person, which has happened.
Yeah. But it's all in one grand stroke, right? Like he swings and she's gone and he falls through instantly. So he doesn't have time to, you
think he doesn't you think that his perception is he fell before the saber would have struck her?
Maybe.
What do you think, Hank?
I think he killed her, but I think that because
he thinks he killed her.
I think yes.
In
no,
similar fashion to when Obi-Wan just kind of dropped.
She bloops out of existence right in front of him. There's a version. Oh man, this is really hard to explain. There's a version of reality where yes, he killed her, and that's where we thought we were from season 2 till now.
That's right.
Her walking into the darkness is a metaphor for her death. But what we see soon, sorry to get ahead of ourselves, but
the literal,
what we'll see soon is that she has always been like, that's why I say once Ezra got there, he's always there. Yeah. And so we don't see Groundhog Day, this happening over and over and over and over again, but it kind of happens over and over and over again. Because that's, rather than pulling her into his present, he pulls her into out of time and space, and then they insert themselves back in. And it really feels to me like they insert themselves back in the amount of time they've spent in here, suggesting that time does kind of
outside time flows as well.
It flows a little bit linearly. Yeah, like sure you could go back a little more, but they're both free. They're both scot-free when they insert themselves back in.
Yeah, there's an interesting
way. I think it's the will of the Force that brings him to the door.
It's definitely the convor leading him to it.
Right. I think that's the Force acting in these crazy ways and using him as a conduit to bring back an immortal character, because the convor says it all right there. That's Ahsoka is ostensibly on that mural.
Even Haydn theorizes, looking at the Mortis gods, that the convor is an aspect of the daughter, if not, what's the word? An avatar for the daughter.
Yeah,
a literal avatar.
Yeah, that'll come up here in a second.
Oh, sorry. Okay, didn't mean to get ahead of you.
No worries. But back on Lothal, Minister Haydn continues to try and entice Sabine to help him with images he's discovered in the Jedi archives on Coruscant, but she continues to refuse. And the minister notes that the three figures continue appearing throughout recorded Jedi history, and he asks if there's anything different about the painting on the Lothal temple. And Sabine plays dumb and says it's the same, but the minister tells her, don't mistake his kindness for weakness. He knows the painting has changed. And sarcastically, she chimes in, oh, you noticed that, huh? He asks again, this time as the troopers advance.
What are you going to do to me?
Yeah. The troopers advance this time, so reluctantly, she rises and tells him that the hand positions are a language. And he asks, how could you possibly read that? But again, she replies, I'm smarter than you. The minister sighs and then says he'd hoped they could have a civil conversation about art, but the Mandalorian in her only understands one form of discourse. And Sabine gives a sideways glance, and with that, one of the troopers knocks her to the ground with the butt of his rifle. And then, with 2 rifles trained on her, the minister asks if they can try again. Beyond the veil, the convoy starts to hoot, causing Ezra to stir, and he looks behind him, and Ahsoka begins to stir as well. Ezra calls out to Ahsoka, who wearily turns around to a much older Ezra.
Yeah, much older.
And Ahsoka questions, Ezra? And she asks, what happened and where is she? And Ezra tells her that she was fighting Vader, and he was about to kill her, so Ezra pulled her through the portal. And Ahsoka hears echoes of Vader and remembers it was Anakin. She then hears a hoot and looks up, seeing Morai, and calls her down. And Ezra questions, Morai? And as she flies down, perching on Ahsoka's arm, she tells Ezra it's an old friend, and Ahsoka owes her life. And she surmises that now she owes it to Ezra as well. And she goes on asking how Ezra got here and where is Kanan. But sorrowfully, he tells her that she's missed a lot. Back at the temple encampment, the rebels have made their way inside the perimeter, and Hera notices that most of the bunkers are mobile command centers. And Zeb clues into her plan immediately, and they tell Chopper to watch for Ezra as they make their way further in. Back beyond the veil, though, Ahsoka looks around and tells Ezra that this place is ancient and calls it a world between worlds. And Ezra tells her it feels like the dream where he met Doom. And Ahsoka asks if the creature named Doom only appeared after Kanan died, which he did. And Ezra agrees it must be connected, but he doesn't know how. Ahsoka tells him that Kanan may be working through the wolf, as he is now part of the cosmic force. And she continues that there are ways that those who have passed on may guide or influence the living. Ezra comes to a conclusion in his head, and he thought it was just sent here to stop the Empire. But instead, he's found Ahsoka. And she asks if maybe that was Kanan's intention. But Ezra replies back, not just you. Ezra poses that he can save Kanan as well, just like he saved Ahsoka. And she tells him to wait, but he darts off in the direction of the echoes of Kanan. Morai flies off, and Ahsoka takes chase after Ezra, and he pauses only momentarily to listen for Kanan before rushing on again, telling Ahsoka to follow. Come on, this way. They arrive near a portal, and Ahsoka begs him to think about what he's doing, but defiantly he barks back that he knows what he's doing. In this place, he can change things.
It's almost a little impetuous, eh?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, he can stop Kanan from dying, but Ahsoka counters that he doesn't know that. And angrily, Ezra turns and states, yes, he does. If he was able to change Ahsoka's fate, then he can also change Kanan's.
I could save him, just like I saved you.
Yeah. The portal begins to glow, and an image appears within it. Mere seconds later, they're staring at the moments before Kanan perished, and Ezra insists he can reach him.
Man, that's a tough scene to watch again, even from that different perspective.
Yeah. But Ahsoka tells Ezra that Kanan gave his life so that Ezra and the rest could live. If he should pull Kanan out of that moment, they would all die. And Ezra angrily tells her that he doesn't know what she's asking him to do, but she counters that she does. He can't save his master, and she can't save hers. She's asking Ezra to let go. Ezra hangs his head as he knows Ahsoka is right, and one more time he watches his master die. Then turning away, the portal closes, and Ahsoka tells Ezra she's sorry, but he has to see that Kanan found the moment that he was most needed and did what needed to be done for everyone. It's not lost on him, and Ezra says that's the lesson. And he continues that he didn't see it before, but he does now. He wishes his life were different, that he could see his mom and dad, and why things couldn't be like they were. And just then, it's almost like a jet engine or an explosion.
Yeah.
But it rings out, and Ahsoka notes that they can't stay here. And she cites Ezra opened the door to this world and asks if he knows how to close it. He tells her Sabine will know, and they can do it together. And he notes that they'll be so happy to see her. But Ahsoka tells him she can't go with him. But before he can react, a voice calls out, perhaps I can. And through the portal that is left, the Emperor appears on the other side over some blue flames. Ahsoka puts herself directly between Ezra and the Emperor, as she always does instinctively.
Yep.
So right on par there. And the Emperor calls out, Ezra Bridger and Ahsoka Tano, mine at last. And then he cackles with glee. And it's such a weird laugh. Like,
it's the Emperor laugh.
Yeah,
like, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
two Jedi.
Yeah, really.
Well, we cut back to Lothal, and Hera is busy rigging up the mobile command center as Zeb keeps watch. And she tells him to get ready to give Sabine a signal. And he tells her that he'll tap one out before blast off, which, thinking of that line, it might mean two things. But inside, the minister and Sabine continue to go over the painting, with the minister pointing out that the father figure is pointing to the portal and the wolves are the portal guardians. But Sabine points out the owl, and Minister Hayden says it's a servant of the daughter, or the daughter herself when acting as a spirit guide. And like you had said, Hank, we should point out that this scene is the one connected to the Mandalorian, and nothing is there by accident.
Well, again, I mean, this is that whole, like, this is a seed that was planted. I mean, there's no way to say that that's supposed to be Grogu. Like, at the time that they did this,
it's definitely a Yoda.
Yes, that much I will totally give.
Yeah,
the top part kind of looks like the old LucasArts logo.
The game, the Lucas game
logo.
Yeah, the video game. Yeah, it's cool though. It's cool.
But they conclude that if the daughter opens the gate, it's the son that must be the one to close it. And Sabine remarks, well, that's something she didn't know. But just then, a stormtrooper rushes in and informs the minister something is happening with the portal. But something starts rapping on the command center's wall. And everyone but Sabine looks around confused. But Sabine mentions to the minister that she knows that language too. And she apologizes for the mess.
Sorry for the mess.
Yeah. Outside the command center, it begins to rumble and shake, and outside we see the rear engines have engaged and are currently lifting the back end of the command center into the air.
This is one aspect of Rebels that I actually quite enjoyed, that like they talk about, and this goes back to my love of the RPG, which I know, Hank, you can appreciate this, the modularity of, you know, how does the Empire deploy an entire garrison and take over a planet? These little prefab structures that literally just there it is.
Land it, yeah.
Drop it off. There. Yeah, so kind of cool to see it used in this way.
Yep. Back in the world between worlds, the Emperor begins chanting in ancient Sith.
So Sith sorcery. This again going back to the RPG. Like, there's no way in my mind that is not
100%
what he's doing. And therein is my question. I know that Hayden said, "Well, the door is open." The Emperor is using Sith sorcery to have to influence this space.
Right. He can't. Otherwise,
he can't physically enter it.
He's like a vampire. No. He can't get in.
It's weird though. Like, I would love to see this. You know, to see we saw the Kanan Jarrus death scene from this perspective. I would love to see this sequence from the Emperor's perspective. Where is he right now? Is he in his office on Coruscant? Where is he right now that he's doing this?
I would say he's on Coruscant, possibly looking at one of these stolen doors.
He's probably in that temple that's beneath the Jedi temple, the old Sith temple. Right. It's where him and Dooku used to go. And remember when they were cooking up their plot to destroy the witches on Dathomir? They were old Sith magic around a cauldron, literally.
I would like to,
Yeah, it's so indicative.
You might be right. I would love to see that.
Yeah. But as the blue flames rise, he directs them through the portal, aiming right at Ezra and Ahsoka, and she uses the Force to shield them both. But she strains, and she can't hold out much longer. So Ezra joins in, and together they push the flames back.
Just a little bit more of a just a little.
There's the power stacking again.
Yeah,
like,
you will. But Ahsoka falls to her knees, and the Emperor ceases the flames completely, but only momentarily, cackling like a madman. Ezra asks if Ahsoka is okay, but she implores that they run. And again, the Emperor sends the flames.
There is some kind of pedestal
cauldron.
There.
Yeah.
Totally is. Yeah. But our heroes race on, led by Morai.
Yeah, as we run.
Yeah. Inside now the almost vertical command center, Sabine leaps her way down towards the entrance and eventually lands on a stormtrooper clinging to a doorway. But with a kick, he dislodges and she surfs him down the remaining length of the structure and right out the opening.
Scooping his rifle as she goes.
Yeah.
You won't be needing this.
Once outside, Hera and Zeb check on her before they all make for the painting at the temple, narrowly avoiding being crushed by the falling command center. And that thing would have some speed on it too.
Well, I mean, look at the size of that. You see the light at the bottom of the doors.
Yeah.
Whoever's on the outside there, like to give you a sense of scale of how big this structure is.
Yeah.
That's several stories tall.
Oh yeah.
But we jump then back again inside the veil, and the flames continue to gain on Ezra and Ahsoka. And suddenly a tether of blue flame wraps itself around Ezra's ankle and pulls him back. And he calls to Ahsoka, but the Emperor calls out, telling Ezra, "Show me the way, help me through." And his tether, he begins to pull himself actually through the portal.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Again, this is like
like he's latched on to Ezra, and that is his connection now.
Yeah, it just stretches like our understanding of aspects of the Force that we've seen used in other Star Wars properties. We've never seen anything like this.
No.
There's this a connection to fear that they talk about, and it's in a few of the like source books and essential guide stuff, and one of the way that the Palpatine is able to control the entire galaxy is his plot to create a war that was sort of two-sided partisan war was to create the maximum amount of fear conditions in the galaxy, and that would be the wellspring for the power. So it could be that he's creating this, conduit of fear, which isn't physical, but as it makes contact with a corporal being inside the world, that then he can like
latch on to.
Right, like almost like an astral tether from something like Marvel or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I just find the whole thing fascinating, because then the other thought that I had around this was the dyad between Ben Solo and Rey, that they could physically move between. They could move. Yeah, they could move matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
matter.
Transporter.
Yeah, like, here's a lightsaber.
Yeah. Right. Now, is that an aspect of what we're seeing here? Like through the Force, I'm going to physically, but this isn't a dyad. They're not a dyad in the Force.
No.
Ezra.
Yeah.
The Emperor.
And I think
but you could easily see like Rey reaching into the world between worlds, and then Ben Solo reaching into the, so there's like a physical.
There's an actual transfer.
Yeah.
Right. But because they're a dyad, maybe they have a special. I mean, that's something seriously like. I would love to see that explored in a more.
They got the VIP pass.
Not trying to jam 9 movies into one way.
Yeah. Give that some more breathing room.
Yeah.
But I think them not being a dyad leads into the next part here.
Yeah,
because Ezra, he cries out, he's coming through. And Ahsoka leaps into action, cutting the tether with her lightsabers, severing that connection and causing Palpatine to recoil. And as his hand gets pulled back, it ignites in a little bit of flame.
And you get that,
he recoils in pain.
Yeah.
But the two begin running again, and the flames start catching up quickly. And Ahsoka tells Ezra he can make it. And Ezra tells her that when she gets back, come and find me. And she promises she will. And the two take separate paths.
When you get back,
find me.
Come and find me.
Yeah, I think that line takes on a whole new meaning after the epilogue.
I mean, we could literally have 2 seasons of Ahsoka that are what she did between the time she returned into her timeline until the time she meets back up with Ezra in season 4. Because something clearly happens that expands her abilities, if you will.
Is this the jump off point for the bad blood between Ahsoka and Sabine? Come and find me. And they don't.
I don't think
until now.
Because he says when you get back,
right?
And I don't think she gets back quite soon.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
She goes back 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
So she's got a while to catch up. That's right. A whole lot of story to tell.
Yeah, so you've got
when you say, Hank, that you think that piece is actually the end of the season. I can see that because your first however many episodes could be detailing from that point,
maybe
to
the
point in Rebels.
If we
explain an Inquisitor, it would easily explain an Inquisitor.
If we presume 1 year per season of Rebels, which is roughly what it is, you've got 2 years of what the hell?
Yep.
But it doesn't. The whole thing. That's funny because we don't see the Inquisitor in any scenes to date him with anything else. Like, mind you, that's not true. We do see the Inquisitor in the scene with one of Thrawn's droids.
Right.
Right. I still have no idea where we're at in terms of the time for this. It's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
25 days.
Yeah.
But Ahsoka promises she will, and the two take separate paths. The flames also split to follow each of them. Ahsoka reaches her portal and leaps through after Morai, and the blue flames lap at the portal but do not pass through. And on the other side, Ahsoka is back on Malachor, and she says, "May the Force be with you, Ezra Bridger." She then moves and turns towards the entrance that we saw for a fraction of a second.
There's a whole new context.
Sorry, her shoulder now.
I was going to say, there's a point where like that injury, what we see her limping away, is not from the fight from Vader. It's from
that's what I was saying last time. 100%.
Yeah.
Plus, like, she was yanked through the portal, and that kind of took a bit out of her. And jumping through again maybe took a bit more.
Getting lapped at by blue force
flames from the
fire tractor beam thing.
Yeah.
Well, they both had to recover. They were both unconscious.
Yes.
From the act of being
going through.
Yep.
Yeah. But like we said, she's back at the end of Twilight of the Apprentice. The timeline is intact, and Ahsoka is alive.
She is alive, yeah.
Back in the Vale, though, Ezra races on, the flames drawing ever closer. And the Emperor is pushing them as fast as he can, and they begin to close in around Ezra, but he leaps and escapes through the portal, and the Emperor cries out, "No!"
in a very Emperor way.
Yeah. As he has been denied his prize.
Again.
Yep. Outside, Hera, Zeb, and Sabine dodge blaster fire as they race towards the portal, and just as they arrive, Ezra pops through, rolling to the ground. Sabine helps him up and tells him it's time to go. But Ezra says they can't leave without sealing the portal. So they rush off towards the painting. And stormtroopers advance in, closing in and pinning them down at the painting. But suddenly, a giant rock drill comes around the corner, piloted by Chopper.
And this is kind of why I say some semblance of linear time has transpired while they were in the world between worlds.
Because events have stopped moving.
No, and he comes out right when they need him to, right?
You wonder, though, if it's maybe just... And this is just a sort of spitball and stuff, like Ezra enters here, so the time here continues to move.
Right. That's exactly what I mean. Right.
The clock is always running in San Dimas.
Yeah.
Could he have
because he's going through that door, the time on the other side of that door continues to tick by. Like
if that whole the door is open, so does that like where the fresh water meets the salt water? Like
ooh.
I don't know.
None of us do. It's the beauty of it. Like, because you 40 years of watching this and then playing the games and reading all the resource books and novels and absorbing all the information. You think you have the Force locked down.
No.
You think you're like, no, that's not how the Force works in 2015. And then 3 years later, you're literally like, maybe it does. I don't know anymore.
That's right.
But with Chopper providing them some cover, Ezra asks Sabine how to close the portal, and she tells him it's the sun. And with a boost from Zeb, Ezra puts his closed fist on that of the sun. And to note here, like, the daughter had the open hand.
I actually quite like this.
The open hand, and
I like that. Yeah,
it's a closed fist.
A closed fist to mimic
the position of the
depiction
painting.
In the painting. Yeah.
Also indicative of something darker. Like
yes.
Ahsoka couldn't close it. Kanan couldn't close it. Anakin Skywalker could have closed it.
Somebody who's sort of
it doesn't bode well for the Ahsoka show. I'm so scared for the future of Ezra Bridger, man. All signs point to this.
Yeah.
But Minister Hyden calls out to stop them, but they can't get past Chopper and the spinning rock crusher. And the painting, it begins to glow red, and the eyes of the sun glow red as well. Ezra, exhausted, falls backwards, only to be caught by Zeb. The entire painting begins to glow and change, this time red instead of gold. And the brother starts to descend out of the painting, followed by the sister. And the temple shakes and cracks as the rebels run and board the rock crusher, telling Chopper to get them out of there. The remaining father figure, he extends his arms out and then puts his hands together, and a blinding light emanates from the center of the painting. And in a glowing golden haze, the minister cries out, "What have they done? The knowledge, everything will be lost." And as the rock crusher drives away, we see really faint in the background the minister crying out, "No!" And he falls forward into the blinding light of the collapsing temple. So
watch for him to show up in Ahsoka.
You think so?
No, I'm just throwing that in there. We didn't see a body.
True.
You can always fall back on that trope. No body, there's still a chance.
Well, they're buried.
If they put a railing around that excavation, he might have made it.
True. Railing saved lives.
We'll see half him, half Mace Windu.
Yeah.
But as they make their way out of the temple dig site, Hera calls out that it's going to be close, and white light starts filling the cab of the rock crusher. The rebels hold tight as the vehicle bumps back and forth along the falling road, and it almost falls off. But Hera, excuse me. Sorry about that. Hera lays Ezra down, and he comes in and out of consciousness, and suddenly the light gets brighter until it is blinding. And in that blinding white light, we hear Kanan, "The Force will be with you always." Later on, Ezra wakes up, and as he sits up, Zeb remarks that if this is what he and Kanan always did on their Jedi missions, he can keep
Yeah, you can keep that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do
good
that
when
again.
Things get weird. It's good.
Ezra asks where Hera is, and Sabine tells him that she's outside, but you got to see. Climbing outside, Ezra spies Hera standing on a flat landscape, and he asks her where they are, but she tells them it's the temple. He asks Hera how it happened, but she says, "You tell me." And Ezra remarks that he and Kanan stood here on this exact spot when they first came to the temple. And Hera remarks that he's really gone now, isn't he? And Ezra says yes. But he continues that he knows what he has to do now. In a way, Kanan showed him one last lesson.
Yep.
And at this, Hera smiles. She turns and walks toward the rock crusher, and Ezra turns to leave as well. But he turns back and spots the white Loth wolf.
Doom.
And they lock eyes for a moment before the wolf turns and disappears into the light. Ezra says goodbye, Kanan, and turns, leaving the temple site behind him.
What's interesting is in this sequence, not only is the temple gone, but the entire excavation is like it never happened.
Yeah,
it's completely filled in.
All that's left is those two circles that they stood on, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Another case of like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, but that's our episode.
Crazy.
I couldn't stop here. I had to keep watching. I watched the next one after this.
Me too.
Oh yeah. I have constantly on rewind. I just bored, don't know what to watch. Rebels.
I love this show so much. And revisiting Rebels, even in this sort of canned experience that we've put together for the purposes of getting ready for Ahsoka, just reminds me of how much I really do love it. And I do think that in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to watch the whole final season again, just to make sure that am I good? Am I good?
Something you missed.
Got everything in the head. Yeah. Just I say it over and over and over, like peak Star Wars.
But it really is.
It's crazy to think that maybe the best Star Wars created was created outside the George Lucas bubble.
It's possible. I mean, there's so many. There's a lot of discourse around that, and there'd be just as many, if not more, people that would say, "Well, that's not true."
Yeah, but
he definitely sat at the foot of the master. I'll give you that.
For sure, he did.
He brings this whole other level of like breathing these honest to goodness, like believable characters. As good as Star Wars was, and you'll probably only ever hear me say this live on TV one time, as good as it was, even Darth Vader dying at the end when I was like 13, that didn't bring me to tears. Han Solo, like escaping the carbonite and someone who loves you didn't bring me to tears. Really? Rebels repeatedly brought me to tears, and maybe it's because I'm old and squidgy or whatever now.
I do think that there's something to be said watching this stuff and this isn't a knock by any means, but watching these programs at our age where we have the benefit of many years of life, of our own life experiences. We experience it just on a completely different level than a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's 100%.
Yeah. I am with you 100%. I am way more emotionally intelligent at my age now than I was then. So I have the capacity for this stuff in a way that I can see the art for what it is rather than just a whiz bang space shooter show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's beautiful and it's wonderful. And, never been a better time, I think, to be a Star Wars fan. Well, maybe there have been times with what Bob Iger's saying right now with less is more or is about to be.
Let's see, but it's contradictory, right? We're in the middle of a writer's strike. Less is more, and then Donald Glover and his brother are tapped to write the Lando show.
That exclusively to write it. Yeah.
Is it going to be a comedy?
That's a mixed message, though.
Donald Glover's an actor, right?
Yep.
So he can write.
Of course he can.
He just can't act right now.
Well, it depends on which. So which one does he belong
to? Both.
Does he belong to both?
I believe so. He was a SNL writer at 16. He's a child prodigy. Go look him up, man. like staff writer on Conan O'Brien, and then like one of the head writers of Community while it was going on, and all of these other yeah.
I mean, if he's in the WGA, then
he shouldn't be writing.
He can't. Well,
no,
you can write whatever you want.
You
can't shop it.
Yeah. Right.
Couldn't take any money for it.
No.
Oh boy.
That's got to be for someone who writes compulsively, like me, or draws compulsively. If I was suddenly told not to create or else, I couldn't.
No.
But I'd have to keep it secret. But I mean, if anything, it might give you freedom to create
whatever
without the constraints of yes.
So we might by market requirements.
Right. Or the
true,
corporate logarithms that they, Hey JJ, write a real Star Wars 3 now.
Write the thing you wanted to write with no oversight.
Right. Which makes me over the moon about the Zack Snyder Rebel Moon.
I am full. It's isn't that Gareth Edwards doing Rebel Moon?
Zack Snyder, I believe.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Isn't that the one we were talking about?
We are. It's the Netflix movie that's coming out. Yeah.
He pitched it as an R-rated Star Wars movie, and they were like, "Hell no!" And he said, "Well, okay."
Sorry, you're right. It is.
Change the names to protect the innocent.
That's right. It is Zack Snyder.
It's literally the biggest budget Star Wars fan film of all time.
I'm very excited for that. However,
should be good.
Before we can get to any of that stuff, we're going to shift gears next week, and we're going to go back to live action as we are going to cover The Mandalorian, The Jedi, as we shift into live action. Yeah, this was it for animation this week.
Experience the culture shock, because we've had Ashley Eckstein play the character for 7 or 8 years now.
Yep, that's right.
And
I mean, everybody
passed the mantle.
There was so much discussion around Rosario Dawson getting the role, and a lot of discussion about is this going to be okay? Are we okay with this? And
I am perfectly fine with that. I love Rosario Dawson.
Sure. But we have the benefit of being able to look back on this and go, she was good.
But also picked by the fans. So it's another case of that, it's the same Patrick Stewart as Xavier. There was never any doubt in the fan community
that he couldn't do it.
Right. And the same thing was sort of, when they make a star of a fan, she was doing cosplay and stuff.
That's right.
I love that stuff. I love that tale.
Yeah. I do as well. stuff that we're fairly well. We've looked at it, I guess, more recently than the stuff we've just been covering for the last 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe that we've been doing this for 10 weeks? That's my God, that's right, Edward. Like 10 weeks of this.
It'll be 13 of these plus then 7 actual episodes. It'll be 20. It will be our largest.
If you group them together, the road to
if we put them on a playlist on our YouTube channel, that will be the largest playlist we have.
It absolutely will.
Well, I don't know. Random Fandom's already 25.
Random Fandom, 25 episodes of Random Fandom. Wow, I was shocked when we had talked about that last week. Well, that being said, everybody, I hope that if you've got some time to spare on Tuesday nights, we also live stream. It is a call-in show. We're always looking for folks who want to be part of the action as we sit around, we hang out, we talk about kind of the entertainment and pop culture news that we sort of caught wind of over the past week. We can't cover everything, and we wouldn't try to. Otherwise, the live stream would never end.
24 hours all day.
That being said, if you've got
the clip show,
if you've got a piece of pop culture news that you want to share with us that we don't cover on any given week, give us a call. We've got our WhatsApp link. It's in the description of all of our videos. It's in the banner of our YouTube channel. We will not answer calls outside of Random Fandom Tuesday, just so be aware of that. I will not answer any calls outside of show times.
No baba booies.
But like I said, the show is a call-in show, so if you feel like that. Otherwise, don't forget to join us in the live chat on whatever platform you happen to be watching on. And if it's now the used to be Twitter, now X, we haven't updated our logo yet, so
that was another thing that came up.
That's an easy update.
Yep,
X.
Otherwise, come back next Sunday when we do this all over again with, like I said, the Mandalorian. It's the Jedi. It is a stat holiday in the province of Ontario next weekend. So
civic holiday weekend.
Hopefully you are healthy and well and having a good time. Whatever you're doing that weekend. I know I will be exercising my liver next weekend.
Push outs.
That's right. All right, everybody. Is there anything you guys want to close on before we wrap this one up?
No, I think we're good.
I think so as well. Hank, what about you?
No, I'm super happy with that one.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Actually, one.
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Like they keep saying, there's nothing by accident. This was definitely chosen for a reason.
Oh, we keep saying that. Well, we say that.
Yeah, but they keep reinforcing it.
It just keeps proving us right.
Yeah. So, are we taking bets like that? The World Between Worlds will definitely show up in the live action show.
I don't have
put me down for one
in my mind. Yeah,
put me down for one.
Put me down too. Yeah.
I
mean, when you have a single voice telling a large story, it's always more cohesive. And I always go back to Smallville when I think of that.
Yeah.
For a single voice, and when you're doing a large scale continuity thing, I think that single voice is better than a committee, and I really think we're in good hands with Dave. And
yeah,
I do as well.
Crazy excited.
I do as well. I think it's going to be great. Oh, can't get enough live action Star Wars. I'm sorry, I love it.
Or animated.
Or yeah, I love it. I love
Star Wars in general.
Star Warsian. We're also getting that Resistance connection that we presumed was going to happen at some point in the form of Senator Ziono. So that'll be interesting. Not saying that you should or shouldn't watch Resistance, but hey, if you've got some time, and
a barf bag. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've tried twice. If I can keep Arby's down, I could watch Resistance.
Fair enough. All right, listen. That's it for me, guys. I hope you guys had a great time hanging out with us. We have a great time hanging out with you every week as we continue to do this. Man, year 3?
We're in year 3, yeah.
Year 3 now. This is great.
Crazy.
Okay, guys. Until the next time, whether it's Tuesday or next Sunday, for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
And we will see you all on the next one. Bye for now. Oh, maybe I should play a video. Play us out.
Yeah.
I'll play us out with a video. Bye, guys.